Hello, 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 and welcome back to another video. As you can tell, I'm not in my home, I'm in your home. So today, the agency sent me here to ask you a few questions, okay, about your life. We are writing a book about you and your adventures that you have experienced throughout your life. And so they sent me here to get the first portion of it, and so I need you to answer all of these questions as honest and as truthfully as you possibly can, okay? You can exaggerate on some things. Of course, that's what's going to sell the book, is some exaggerations. But for the most part, I need you to be as honest as possible, okay? So I have a few questions here to start. This is just simple, generic, basic questions that I'm gonna need you to answer, and then we'll get into the interesting things later on. So, first question, okay? What is your name? I know it, of course, but these are for the readers out there that don't know your name. What is your name? Okay. And can you spell that for me? Okay. Okay. If you don't mind saying how old you are right now? Okay. When the book comes out, like, Google will have all your information when your birthday is, but for this part, we're going to put that the book was written at this age. So, you look great, by the way, for your age. Alright, so now that we got the super generic questions out the way, when did you first realize that this would be your career path? You could say, like, at what age a certain event happened, like that you were in school one day in second grade and you picked up this piece of art and it just spoke to you, or something along the lines of that. So what brought you to the profession that you're in now? Okay. You can elaborate on that. Okay. Try to explain it to me like I don't know your story. I know your story, of course, but try to explain it like you're telling it to a person you just met and they're asking you all about your life, and you want it to sound as interesting as possible but as truthfully as possible, okay? So don't leave out any facts, even if it's your second grade teacher, Miss Dotson. Make sure to say that. I'm going to write it all down to put in the book, okay? Okay. Good. Wow, you knew at that age? It's actually really fascinating. A lot of people wait years until they actually find out what their purpose is. Okay. So you can make it up. That's fine. That's a pretty good start right now. Alright, so what skills have you developed along the way to help you with this career type, adventurous path that you've been on through the last few years? Like, the skills could be like leadership skills, even just, computer skills, writing skills, communication skills, like any type of skills. Okay. Okay, that's fine. You can name as many skills you could possibly think that has helped you and that you have developed along the way. I can see that. 100%, I can see that. Writing's not one of them. That's okay. I feel like that's the reason why the agency sent me down here to write and get the answers, so we can put it in the type of form that readers might want to, read. Might pique their interest, if you would say. Okay, so here's a pretty interesting question that you can elaborate on if you want to. It might take some time for you to think about it, but what is something you would tell your 10-year-old self? Anything. I mean, obviously you might go back and be like, oh, the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl back-to-back years. You might tell him that so he could bet on it, but that's not what I mean. Obviously that would benefit you financially. Maybe not as a 10-year-old, because 10-year-olds can't bet on stuff, but what would you tell your 10-year-old self that would benefit you, let's say, internally, or along the lines of like career path or emotionally or something, not necessarily financial gain? Don't want you to say the World Cup winners or the Super Bowl winners or the World Series winners. We're not going Back to the Future where you steal the almanac and you have all the list of the teams that won sporting events throughout the years, or horse races and stuff like that. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you would go back and you could have a conversation with your 10-year-old self. Would you tell them, hey, just be patient, that eventually everything will work out, everything will be fine, everything will be okay? Would you tell them, be like, hey, your mom, your dad did love you, it's not it wasn't your fault that they left? Like, what would you tell them? What would you tell yourself? Okay. You can elaborate on that and why. I mean, you don't have to go too personal if you don't want to, but the more personal, it's kind of the more juicy the story. So you can leave out key details, though. It might make you feel uncomfortable, but okay. It's pretty interesting, actually. Like, do you think your 10-year-old self will be able to understand what you're trying to tell them, or do you think that at that age you were a little too hard-headed, and that if someone claimed that they're yourself from the future, they would just ignore you? Because I know my 10-year-old self would be like, what are you talking about? Might have to wait till I was like 13 or 14 before I would probably actually believe you. You think your 10-year-old self would be pretty mature enough to do that? Okay. Let's find a little thing here. And sorry if I'm sniffling a little bit. I have been under the weather this past weekend, and but I couldn't miss work on Monday, so ran out of sick days, so I had to be here. Don't worry, it's not contagious or anything. It's just the pollen and stuff. This time of the year, everyone gets a little snifflies and things like that. So if you see my eyes watering, you hear me sniffle, I promise you it's not contagious, okay? Alright, and now this could tie together with the last question I just asked, but is there something that you would do different in your life? And when I say it could tie together with the last question, meaning you would tell your 10-year-old self, hey, don't get that Camaro when you get your license, or focus more on school. So like that would be something you would do different in your lifetime. You would have focused more on school. Is there something that you would have done different, or are you super happy with the way things turned out in life? And it could be something small. You could say that you didn't want to name your pet dog Rex and you wanted to name him Max or something. It could be anything like that. Okay. Wow. All right. Mm-hmm. Okay, so not nothing too much different. You seem to say, I'm gonna put it in my own words what you said, but what you seem to say is that like life has taught you a lot of experiences, and you can't really exchange those experiences for anything in the world. So if you would have taken away the things you've been through, then you wouldn't be the person you are today. That's what it seems like you're saying to me. I'm kind of twisting it to, put in words that readers might want to read or might sound a little more interesting. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, just a few more questions. Remember, this is for the first section of the book. There's probably about 4 sections, but this is just like kind of the introductory section to get to know you a little bit better and get to know like the way you think. And then we'll go into like the adventure types that you do at a later date though. So that won't be today, that'll be at a later date. So just a few more questions, like I said. How would you advise someone who just started as an adult? So kind of, let's just say, out of high school if they're not going to college, or out of college if they're done graduating college and they're not going to a higher education. How would you advise them to become adult and how to handle life? So it's kind of like a 2-part question, but what would you advise them to do that would help them kind of like transition from, I don't want to say being irresponsible, but not being as responsible as an adult? Okay. Now, is this what you did? And you're trying to like pass on the wisdom that you've gone through, or is this something that you wish somebody would have told you? Okay, yeah. We all wish we had that one person in our life that would explain stuff to us. Usually we do while we're young and we're just so hard-headed and we don't want to listen to that person, and then later on in life we learn that that person was absolutely right and we should have listened to him. But it's also very good for us to go through our mistakes ourselves because we learn from them. Some people don't learn from them. Some people keep doing them. But for the most part, we learn from our mistakes. So, okay. Yep, of course. Yep. I 100% agree with you. 100%. That's what I would have done, and that's what I would advise people to do. All right, and after all that, of course, how would you say that you, when I say handle life, I kind of mean like how would you explain to someone how you find happiness even during the darkest times in your life? It's a pretty deep question, but like, let's put, for instance, for me, when I'm feeling down, I would either go to the movies to watch a movie I really want to see, because in that brief 2 hours, I find happiness. My mind puts everything away, puts everything to the side that I have to do. I mean, yeah, you might seem that like you don't have the time to do it, but your mind it relaxes. It needs that little time. Or I go to the gym, go on some walks. What would you say you do, and what would you try to help and advise other people to do that are in the same kind of situation that you're in? Eat ice cream? Yeah. I feel like that would be a lot of people's answer, but obviously that's not the healthiest thing to do. Doing it once, maybe twice a year is okay, but I wouldn't advise you to just plow down on some ice cream. Okay, that's actually really good. Your family's really big supporting. Okay, yep. Finding a support group is huge. Okay, you do that too. Okay. Yeah, I found having a friend group that can understand is kind of in the same boat that you are helps a lot. Yep, I agree. Okay. Is there anything else for this section that you would want to say? Of course, like I said, I'll write it down. It's not guaranteed that the editor or publisher, whatever you want to say, will put everything that I have written down that's on the paper inside of the first section of the book, but I feel like we got a lot of good information. Yeah, so I will be in contact with you again. Like I say, it will probably be, because we're going to try to do this first section, edit it, get it like locked down, and so we don't have to alter it at all, and then we'll hit you up for the second section, And the second section will be kind of like an intro into your life. This is kind of like an intro, but this is like an intro to the intro, if that makes sense. And then we're going to get into the juicy stuff on section 2. But yeah, is there anything else you want to say? If there's not, it was great to meet you. I will be here again as soon as we finish this. I can't give you a time frame on it because it's out of my hands at this point. My job was just come down here and come to your lovely home and just ask you these questions. So if that is all, it was nice to meet you, nice to see you. I will be back as soon as possible, and I hope you have a great day, okay?